Hi, I'm Linda from Coastal Canine, a clinical canine behaviourist. I say in all my videos, but I do try very hard to help make dog behaviour make more sense to you guys. But before we get started, I think it's really important to give credit where credit's due. Now, over the years, I've done so many different courses on separation anxiety. But the information I'm sharing with you today comes mainly from two organisations that I have a huge respect for. The School of Canine Science and, of course, Joe Rosie Hafferton. Because I love the way they teach, because everything they do is based on science. But they also focus on how we can actually apply that science to help real dogs and real owners. Now, if your dog barks when you leave the house, follows you everywhere, chews things when they're left alone, or just can't seem to settle without you, you've probably heard someone say, even a trainer might have said, "I'll be separation anxiety." The trouble is that that's often where the explanation sometimes stops. But here's the thing. Separation anxiety isn't as straightforward as most people think. And if we don't understand what's really going on, it's very difficult to know how to actually help our dogs. Now, to understand it properly, we actually need to look at something called attachment. Don't worry, don't panic, I'm not going to turn this into a psychology lesson, but understanding this one idea completely changes the way we think about dogs that struggle when they're left alone. So it is important. So, back in the 1930s, a psychologist named John Bowlby and a researcher called Mary Ainsworth were studying the relationship between children and their parents. Now, what they discovered was that children became confident and independent because they first feel safe and secure with the people they trust. Now, why is that important? Because researchers have since found that our dogs form very similar attachment bonds with us. Now, in other words, your dog doesn't just love you. To them, you're also definitely their place of safety. Now, that means when you're there, the world feels easier to cope with. They're often more confident exploring new places. They recover from scary situations more quickly. And if they become worried, they'll naturally look to you for reassurance. That's completely normal. In fact, it's exactly what we'd expect from a healthy attachment. So if dogs form this really important attachment with us, does that mean we should be trying to make them independent as quickly as possible? And I'm going to say actually no. I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to puppies. Now, people often worry that if they give their puppy too much attention, cuddle them too much, or respond every time they need them, they'll actually somehow create separation anxiety, and people may have been told this. But the science actually suggests the opposite. Now, a puppy becomes independent because they feel safe first. Think about a child. Let's go back to children. A confident child doesn't wander off because they're being pushed away by their parents. They wander off because they know their parents are still there if they need them. That feeling of security really gives them the confidence to go and explore. Now, our dogs do seem to work in a very similar way. So when you first bring a puppy home, I think your priority isn't to see how long they can cope on their own. Your priority is helping them settle into their new home, build trust, and feel safe. As that relationship grows, confidence starts to grow with it. Now, that doesn't mean we never teach our puppies to cope with being alone. Of course we do. But there's a big difference between introducing short, successful absences and expecting a puppy to suddenly cope with being left for hours before they're emotionally ready. Now, this is actually why I'm never overly worried if someone takes a couple of weeks off work when they bring a new puppy home. Now, people often say, won't they just get used to me always being there? And I do know people have been told this. And I'm going to say, no, not necessarily. What worries me a little bit more is the puppy that comes home on a Friday and has to cope with being left for long periods almost immediately because their owner has no other option, maybe has to go back to work. If that puppy becomes frightened during those first few experiences of being alone, they haven't yet built that strong feeling of security to help them cope. Now, of course, every dog is an individual though, and some dogs do seem to be more likely to struggle than others. Now, research has found that some breeds, particularly some of the gun dog breeds, appear a little bit more likely to struggle with being left alone. One theory is that these breeds were developed to work very closely with people, so they're just naturally social. Now, dogs that come from rescue organisations can also be sometimes at greater risk, simply because we don't always know what they've experienced before coming into their new home. And interestingly, research has also shown that getting another dog usually isn't the answer. It's something people recommend all the time, but studies haven't found that simply adding another dog fixes separation anxiety in the dog that's already struggling. Now, some research has also suggested that males, particularly neutered males, may be affected more often than females. And we don't yet know exactly why, but it's something that's appeared in several studies. Now, the important thing to remember is that these are simply risk factors. They don't mean your dog will definitely develop separation anxiety. And equally, plenty of dogs with none of the risk factors still struggle. Now, every dog, we have to remember, is different. The really encouraging news is that there are simple things we can do to help puppies build confidence around being alone, and none of them involve forcing that independence. Instead, they're all about helping your puppy learn little by little that being apart from you is safe. And these are 3 of my favourite exercises to help them do exactly that. The first exercise is all about introducing small moments of separation throughout the day. Now, start with something really easy, such as nipping to the bathroom, just moving into another room and coming back, or taking the rubbish out. But before you move away, scatter a small amount of your puppy's normal food on the floor and let them sniff around to find it while you are gone. Now, at first you may only be out of sight for a few seconds, and that's absolutely fine. The aim isn't to see how long your puppy can cope. We want you to come back while they're still relaxed, so they learn that you disappearing for a moment isn't something to worry about. Now, once they're completely comfortable with those tiny absences, you can gradually make them a little longer by maybe doing everyday jobs like hanging the washing out, putting the washing away, going for your daily shower. But what your puppy is learning is that you can leave, good things still happen, and you always come back. Now, those repeated successful experiences build the foundations for coping with longer absences that you're going to start implementing in the future. Now, my second favourite exercise is what's known as the tie-out toy exercise. Now, this encourages your puppy to make the choice to actually move away from you and stay there. Now, take something your puppy really enjoys. Maybe it's their stuffed Kong or a suitable chew item. But make sure it's something you can safely tie in place. Now, secure it a short distance away from where you're sitting, so your puppy can't simply go, pick it up and carry it back to you. Now, once it's in place, sit down, do something completely normal, whether that's reading a book, watching TV, or if you're a busy person working on your laptop. Your puppy will choose to walk away to investigate that item. And because it's tied in place, they have to stay there to enjoy it. Now, that's what makes this exercise so effective. Your puppy is learning that moving away from you is safe, that good things happen when they do, and because they're making that decision themselves, they're building genuine confidence. As they become more comfortable, you can gradually increase the distance between where you're sitting and where you have tied the item. Now, if you have, this is a safety point, if you have more than one dog in the house, just make sure each dog has their own enrichment item and enough space so there's no competition happening between them. Now, the final exercise is called the eat away game. And for this one, you'll need either a puppy pen or a crate. The reason we use a puppy pen or crate is because it allows us to gradually increase the distance between you and your puppy without them simply being able to move back towards you. So when you sit down for your dinner, so your main meal, pop your puppy into the crate or the puppy pen with something enjoyable. Same again, it could be their stuffed Kong or a suitable chew item. To begin with, have the crate or the pen beside you so your puppy feels completely relaxed and secure while they enjoy it. They're eating, you're eating. But over the next few days, gradually increase the distance by moving your puppy's pen or the crate a little bit further away. Because your puppy is safely contained, they can't move back to you. So instead, they learn that they can still feel safe, relaxed, and enjoy themselves even when they're a little further away from you. And it builds a good habit around meal times. Take your time with this though. If your puppy stops eating, so it's things to recognise, becomes unsettled, or starts getting a little bit frustrated, you've maybe progressed too quickly. Simply make the next step easier again and build up more gradually next time. Remember, this isn't a test. We want lots of successful repetitions rather than thinking about we've got to create that independence. We need them to comfortably cope with everything that they do. Now, across all three exercises, the goal is exactly the same. We're not trying to teach a puppy simply to put up with it, being alone. We're helping them build confidence through lots of positive experiences where they discover that a little bit of distance from us is safe. So, if there's one thing I'd like you to remember from today's video, it's this. You can't overlove a puppy into developing separation anxiety. The science simply doesn't support that. Independence doesn't come from trying to push the puppy into independence. It grows naturally when a puppy feels safe, secure, and knows they can rely on you. Everything we've talked about today has been about helping to prevent separation-related problems before they start and giving puppies the very best foundation. But what happens if your dog is already barking, pacing, chewing, destructive behaviour, toileting in the house when you leave them alone? That's exactly what we'll be looking at in part 2. We'll talk about what's really happening in dogs that are already struggling with separation anxiety, and more importantly, how can we start laying the foundations to help them feel safe when they're home alone.